Okay, video number 5, I believe, of my testimony. So I had stayed with the Hinnings about a year, and I was flipping pancakes. I didn't go to school, and I'd already, I flunked out the eighth grade. I quit the ninth grade as soon as I turned 16. I quit school, and so I was not very highly educated, as you can imagine, streetwise maybe. Okay, so Gerald, we have a big family powwow, and he puts it like this: Mike, you're stagnant. You can either go back to school and live with us. You can go back to Kansas City and try and go to school, and we'll be praying for you. Or you can go up and maybe check out the military services. I said, well, okay. So I go up to the post office there in Joplin. Maybe it was only one in 1973. But anyways, there was a guy smoking a cigarette in uniform on the steps. And he says, you must be looking for me. I said, well, I am if you can make me an aircraft mechanic. And I don't know why I liked aircraft, but I did. And of course, I'd twisted a few wrenches and worked in that tire shop up in Independence for Smitty's. And, was always fiddling and building and tinkering with stuff. So I said, okay, let's see what happened. And I went in and told him who I was, blah, 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 everything about me. And I said, you know, education, I flunked the eighth grade and quit mid-year in the ninth grade as soon as I turned 16. He said, well, if you can pass the test, then we'll send you to school for be an aircraft mechanic. Well, think about that. Now, that's a miracle in itself. Come on, it was a big, extensive test asking things I had no idea about. So I didn't take it that day. But I went back home and they scheduled everything, and then you had to do physicals and whatnot and all that stuff. And so we went into prayer for that. And I don't know if Gerald and Michelle called a bunch of people and got on the prayer horn. Either way, I took the tests and I passed. To go to school, that was just a test to get entrance into the school for aviation reciprocating engine mechanic on the old C-117s. So the bottom line is the Lord blessed me with that. So now I have an avenue, and it was 30 days. They can't take you in, I think, till you're 17. So I couldn't even go in until I was 17. Then I had to get some waivers from my mother because I was still, not quite 17 till November. And then the Marine there introduced me to a man named David Buchanan, a very young man, about 2 or 3 weeks before we went in. And so he said, why don't you two join on the buddy system? You're both from Joplin, blah, 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 blah. And so we did. And he had signed up to be in the aviation field, so to speak, as an aircraft fire and rescue. The guys that do all the saving and foaming things on the runways and such for aircraft in distress. So we got to know each other and hung out and did some things and partied a little bit, this and that. Not too much because Gerald would have laid the law down. And we joined together. And by the way, we weren't stationed together the entire time at different stations for almost the entire 4 years. And got into some, did several things together we shouldn't have, but that's the beginning. So basically, the drugs went away. I still smoked, and I already picked up the bad habit. And so, passed that test. That was an act of God. Got into boot camp and made it through that. That's another act of God. And graduated, and then went to Millington, Tennessee, for the aviation mechanic school. For I'm thinking it was, I can't remember, 4 6 months, whatever. It was 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, crammed down your throat, everything. Passed that, got certified as an aircraft mechanic. Another act of God, because at the time I started to do drugs and hard drugs, mescaline, pot, of course, and hash. And the hardest was mescaline, which is a light form of acid, which is a whole other story, which I'll get into later. But the bottom line was that was a real testimony. the fact that I even got in the Marines, passed that test at age 16, got in at 17, passed the boot camp, passed the school in Millington, Tennessee. That's another miracle. Eighth grade students just don't do those things. When that's the highest education you have in only 2 or 3 months in the whatever grade it was. But God, God has been good to me. Of course, my mother prayed, prayer warring the whole time as well, as who knows how many people would petition to pray for me. Next is prophecies that were given to me by several different people. Okay, have a good day. Get in the Word of God. Stay in the Word of God.